Hey there, welcome back. So in this lesson, we're focusing on improving the usability of Yelp Camp. Right now, it's kind of a disaster as far as giving feedback or error messages or success messages to our users. And by disaster, I just mean that it doesn't exist at all. We have a console.log, which obviously our users can't see. We see it as developers in our console here where the server's running, but no one else sees that. So we're going to focus on adding some messages in, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Before I do that, we have three main objectives. I'll just talk about them now. So I do want to demo it first, show you what to expect, how it will look, how it behaves. Then we'll actually install and configure a package called Connect Flash. So what we're doing is adding in Flash or the Flash or a Flash. I've heard different pronouns, and people will call it in other frameworks the Flash hash. People will call it Flash messages. But basically the idea is we're going to show a message to a user like successfully logged in or successfully logged out, or maybe something like you don't have permission to do that, or please log in before you add a campground. Something like that. We want to show it to a user just once. And we don't want it to be a permanent fixture on the page. We want to just flash it to them one time and then it goes away on the next page or if the user refreshes. And then the last thing is to add in our Flash messages to the header and add in some Bootstrap classes that will style it. So there's some built-in ways of doing things with Bootstrap. This is such a common feature to have messages that are flashed to your user on all sorts of sites that Bootstrap has some built-in styling for that we'll take advantage of. So I'll start by showing you what it will look like. So I have Yelp Camp running. Let me, I'll show you if I just log out right now. So I'm signed in as Freezer. If I log out, I get a message that says logged you out. We can change that message text, obviously. If I try and add a new campground right now when I'm not logged in, I now should get a message that says you must be signed in to do that. And notice that it's red here. So that's a Bootstrap class. This alert that we get if I refresh the page goes away. So now if I try and sign up, and let's say that I sign up as Rusty, which already exists, so I shouldn't be able to do that. In the past, the page would just refresh, but what we'll end up with is a message that says a user with the given username is already registered. Okay, so let me sign up as someone new. Let's try doing Blender. I've now moved apparently from vegetables to household appliances. And I get a message, successfully signed up, nice to meet you, Blender. And if I refresh the page, it goes away. So there are other places that we have those messages that I'll show you. For instance, if I try and edit this campground that I don't own, Tater Tot owns it, I'm logged in as Blender. I don't have the link to go to edit here because that's hidden, but technically I still could go to /edit, where I now get a message that says you don't have permission to do that. It redirects me back here. So same thing with comments. If there was a comment here and it was created by someone else, if I manually went to the link and added /edit, then I would also see a message. But that's a lot of work because we have to find the ID. And anyways, I don't want to go into it now, but it will be the same bit of code that we add that will say you don't have permission to do that. And then lastly, if I do log out and I go back and I try and add a new comment, I get the same message. You must be signed in to do that. Just like if I tried to create a campground when I wasn't signed in. Okay, so that's the end goal. And it's actually pretty easy for us to make this work using this package. We could do this without a package, of course, but we could do something like, let me open up the correct version. So I made a new version for this, V11, that I'll be working inside of. So let's cd into V11. And let me clear everything and open up app.js. Okay, so we'll be working here. Again, this is V11, just in case you're following along. The first thing that I'll do is show you the package we're going to use. So it's called Connect Flash. There are other packages out there that do this. If you take a look at the GitHub repo, the documentation is actually a little bit out of date. We're not using Express 4, which came out earlier in 2015. The docs talk about Express 2.x and 3.x. We're on 4.x though, So these instructions aren't exactly the same, although if you go back to Connect Flash, you'll see some of the first external links are Express 4.0 set up with Connect Flash, which I already took a look at. Or you could always do something like this, add Express 4 afterwards, and you can see we get that same link. And there are tutorials down here. There's a Stack Overflow post about it if you want to take a look. So I did this earlier, something you have to do a lot when code is being updated, when new things are coming out, especially with something like Express 4.0, where things change pretty significantly. Lots of things that used to be part of Express were moved out of Express as separate packages. Some of the naming and syntax changed. So it's something you just do a lot when you're trying to do something you haven't done yet in Express. Add in Express 4 to your searches, because oftentimes you'll find great tutorials for 2 years ago that still are 90% the same, but that 10% is really important, that you understand how it's different from 2 years ago versus current Express. All right, so first thing we want to do is install this package. So it's called Connect Flash. So we want npm install -- save connect - flash. Okay, now that that's done, up here we'll just add in flash. We'll just call it flash rather than Connect Flash, equals require connect - flash. Make sure we have our comma in there. Then what we need to do is tell the app to use Flash. So we took the contents of Connect Flash, the package, and saved it into the Flash variable, and we'll need to execute that variable app.use Flash, just like that. So technically that's all we need to do. We now have Connect Flash installed. And if we do go back and take a look at the docs, there is some other configuration that they do here with cookie parser and session, but we actually already have that set up where we're already doing our, require express session, and we're setting up a secret. And so we don't actually have to worry about that because we already have set up our app to use express session. Okay, so what we'll do is on every single page, we're going to show the contents of the Flash. We're going to take the message that's in there. It might be good, it might be bad, it might be empty. And we're going to show it at the top of the page. And that will happen in our header file, header.ejs. We'll have some code that just displays the error or the success message. And then all that we'll do is when we encounter an error or a place we want a message, so an instance of that might be inside of, let's do campgrounds. And instead of our campgrounds, where we have this is logged in middleware, where you can't add a new campground unless you're logged in. If we go to that middleware and we look at is logged in, we might want to have a message that says you need to be logged in to do that, or please log in. So that code would go right here. So right before we redirect to /login, we're going to add something to the Flash. So that looks just like this actually. Request.flash, and then we can give it a key. So in a moment I'll show you, we'll be using success and error, and we'll just use that to determine if the message, the alert, should be green or red. So that part doesn't matter for now, but this part does matter, where we're going to pass in a message. So we could do something like please log in first. Again, this is inside the is logged in middleware. So it's checking if the request is authenticated. If the user is logged in, then keep going to whatever you were doing before. But if that's not the case, before you redirect to /login, because remember, if we redirect to /login without this line, it just goes on to, I'll have to open up the route, but it will go right to the code in /login, which is right here. So it renders the login form. Before we do that though, we're going to run this code flash, and what this will do is basically take please log in first, and we'll add it to the Flash, and it won't be displayed until the next thing that we see. So in this case, this doesn't actually render anything. It just redirects us to /login. And the way that the flash works is really nice in that it isn't just going to flash itself right away immediately. It only works, or it shows up on the next page. So you actually do it before you redirect. So in this case, please log in first, and then we redirect to /login. And then on the login form, we'll hopefully see a message. Right now, we're not displaying that though. So again, just to reiterate, just adding this line won't display anything for us. All that this does is it gives us the capability, it gives us a way of accessing this on the next request. So we're not flashing it right away. We're not seeing anything. We're not showing the user anything. All that this does is it says in the flash, and rather than success, I think it makes more sense to call this error. In the flash, add please log in first for the next request. And then we redirect to /login. So then we have to handle that in /login, which is right here, /login. So I could do something like pass in message. And of course, I can just show you this to start. So if we just have message be error, you messed it up, just like that. We could just display that on our template. So /login, which is inside of views, login.ejs. Just at the very top, I could just have an h1 that displayed message, just like that. Nothing very new. So I'll just show you what that looks like right now. Start the server up, redirect to /login, and I get this message every time. Error, you messed it up. As you can see, which is hopefully what you expected at this point, because I hard-coded it in. Every time we go to /login, we see you messed it up. Okay, so using Flash, what we can do is now say message is equal to request.flash, and we can just do the error in the flash. So it's a little bit confusing, but basically the idea is right now, if I just refresh the page, restart the server and refresh, there shouldn't be an error in the flash. So we actually don't see anything. But then if we make this code run, this code here, and the way we would do that is by trying to access something where we have to be logged in, where this middleware is called, then what will happen is that we're adding this to the flash under the key error with the value please log in first, then we're going to /login, then inside of /login, we're sending under the key of message request.flash error, so it's a lot of things that have to be connected, and it's a little bit confusing again, but let me just show you now. So I restart. I actually didn't have to do that this time, but we don't see anything. Now let me go to /campgrounds and try and add a new campground, even though I'm not logged in. And now I get that message that says, please log in first, which wasn't there before. And if I refresh the page, it goes away. So that's a really simple version of what we can accomplish using Flash. So before we move on in the next video to implementing this with all the different messages and the styling, let's just summarize how this works again. So whenever we want to display a message, whether it's a success message or an error message, whatever it is, we're going to use this line right here, request.flash, and then we pass in a key and a value. And we do that before we redirect. It's really important. If I put this line after we redirect, it won't work. So before you redirect, and then you still have to handle it in the template, you still have to handle it in the route. All that it gives you is the capability of adding some data in before you redirect that makes it to the next route, and that data won't persist on every single request to that route. So it's a one-time thing, which is why it's called Flash. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to show you how to actually implement this for real, where we don't have to do this passing in of message to every template, where we can style things nicely with Bootstrap, where we can have red and green messages. We can have different colors if we wanted, but red and green are the standard ones. Okay, so that's in the next video. See you then.